Hi, I'm Nate Martin, and usually here on the Bitcoin Effect, we talk about how Bitcoin affects policy, socioeconomics, and monetary systems. But today, we're going to take a different route. Because while this episode isn't about Bitcoin, it is about freedom and where the idea of freedom comes from. Today is Independence Day here in America, the 4th of July. It's the day we head to the beach, fire up the grill, gather with friends, and celebrate freedom. But what kind of freedom are we actually celebrating? Where did the idea come from? It didn't start with fireworks. It started with gunfire. First at Lexington and Concord, then Bunker Hill, then Quebec. The war had already been raging for over a year, but there still wasn't a clear statement as to why. The Declaration of Independence wasn't the start of the fight. It was the explanation. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. In plain terms, the founders were saying this: when one group of people decides to break away from another, especially in something as serious as forming a new nation, well, they owe the world an explanation. If they believe that they're entitled to live free and equal according to natural law and God's law, they should say clearly why they're separating. The second paragraph of the Declaration lays out a philosophy. And I don't just mean political theory, I mean something deeper. A statement about how human beings ought to live with one another. That word, philosophy, it literally means love of wisdom. And in this case, the wisdom they're offering is this: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. They weren't just saying people have the right to tear down a broken government. They were saying people have the right, and sometimes the responsibility, to rebuild one, to lay down a new foundation, to choose new principles. What they were saying was this: we believe it's obvious that all people are created equal, and that our rights don't come from kings or governments, but from God. Among those rights are life, liberty, and the freedom to pursue happiness. The government should exist to protect those rights, and they should only have power because the people allow it. And if a government stops doing that, if it becomes abusive or oppressive, well, then the people have the right to change it or replace it. That line used to just sound like a license to revolt, but when I read it more closely, it is something deeper, and honestly, more dangerous. Because if you tear down the government, well, you're also giving yourself the freedom to tear down the principles it was built on. You're not just choosing new leaders, you're choosing a new foundation. And it saddens me to think that we might ever walk away from the idea that all people are created equal, that our rights come from God, and that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness aren't just privileges, but rights. And that brings us to what comes next. After laying out these core truths, the Declaration turns to a long list, of abuses by the British Crown. When the founders said he, well, they were talking about King George III, the monarch who ruled over the colonies and refused to listen when they pushed back. A few of these grievances by themselves, well, they might not have caused a revolution, but when you put them all together, they were just too much to ignore. He obstructed the laws we needed to govern ourselves. He dissolved our local legislatures when they disagreed with him. He sent swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He made the military more powerful than the civil government. He deprived us of trial by jury. He declared us out of his protection and waged war against us. Well, these weren't just bad policies. They were signs of tyranny, and the colonists said no more. They appealed to the king. They petitioned, protested, and they were met with silence, or worse, violence. So they made their decision. The Declaration didn't just tell the king what we were breaking away from. It told the world what we were building toward. A nation grounded in the truth that all people are created equal, that the rights come from God, that governments exist to protect those rights and not decide who gets them. If we ever let go of those principles, we won't just need new governments. We would need a whole new truth to build them on. And I don't know where else we think we're going to find one better.